So what life lessons have you learned? Do you sometimes feel like you learn things the hard way? Well, today we're going to talk about a man who learned some very hard lessons in life, a man named Job. And we're going to see what we can learn from his life on Discovery Jones Expeditions, coming up next. You know, the state of Utah has some of the most beautiful canyon lands in the entire United States. And what better way to see some of this country than on horseback? We're going to check it out right after this. You know, one of the best ways to enjoy the landscape and the terrain of southern Utah is on a good old-fashioned trail ride. I want you to meet a friend of mine. This is McLean Meekum. How's it going, McLean?
Good, how you doing?
I am excited. This is a great day today. We're in a beautiful country. This is just amazing. Tell me when you first started leading trail rides.
When I was about 8 years old. We started
8 years old? You know your way around this area very well.
Sure do.
Well, you know, we can't waste more time. Let's get on back of the animals and head out.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
All right. Right now. Ready.
You know, riding some of these rugged trails and terrain here in Utah might be kind of challenging, but I'm sure nothing's more challenging than what Job endured in his life. In fact, there's an entire chapter in the book of Job in the Bible that tells us specifically about the terrible things that happened in Job's life. We're going to talk more about that, but I got to catch up with the guys. McLean, what is it you've noticed that families really enjoy about taking the trail rides here in southern Utah? What's some of your best experiences with that?
You know, it's just part of them getting out and being able to ride a horse or a mule, and just to get out and in the wild, you know, out here where there's not a lot of people, and just enjoy the scenery and the family experience. They really enjoy it.
So they like the scenery a lot up here, eh, McLean?
Really enjoy the scenery. I mean, that's one thing about southern Utah is you can go around a turn and the scenery changes every 5 minutes. So you got
and it's beautiful around every turn.
It is.
Too.
It changes and it's really beautiful.
In this area, is there a lot of families that just stay here and that generations pass? That just everybody knows everybody, I'm assuming.
Everybody knows everybody, and everybody knows what everybody does before they do it.
According to the Bible, Job was a good man. In fact, Job chapter 1, verse 8 tells us that God said Job was the finest man in all the earth, a man of complete integrity who never had anything to do with evil. The Bible says that Job was wealthy and respected by everyone who knew him, but one day he lost everything he owned, and all of his children died too. Soon after those tragedies, Job got very sick, and his body was covered with painful sores. Now here's where things get even worse. Job had close friends who came to visit him after losing everything. Several of Job's friends said that every terrible thing that happened to him was a punishment for his sins. But wait, this is the man that God said was the finest man living at the time. So were Job's friends right? Let's talk about it.
You know, if you've not been in this area before, especially as a young person, you might see some of these rock formations and just really be tempted to want to go climb them.
Exactly.
But this is not a rock climbing type of environment. What do you think?
Yeah, this type of sandstone right here is the type you don't want to climb on. Really brittle. About the time you grab a hold of a piece of it, it's going to cut loose on you, and you're going to have some room for salve.
Enjoy the beauty.
You bet. Enjoy
Stay back and ride
Just
by
sit
it.
back and look at it.
Take a trail ride.
That's right.
What we're doing now, let's head out and see what else we can
Let's
find.
go do her. You know, the families that we take, you know, and we do catered mostly private type rides, so it's a really good experience for the kids and their parents to come out here and experience this. But the kids are just amazed, and the parents too, at this country and how wild it still is, and the opportunity they get to ride in some of this country that actually had outlaws in it at one time. A lot of Indians run through a lot of this country, different tribes, but you know, it's when we get done off a ride, the family and the parents, they really express how much they really enjoyed the ride and the scenery and just being able to get away from everything for a little while.
I was thinking that, you know, way back when our country was first getting started, so to speak, making those wagon trips across country, you can just imagine the family wondering what they were doing. They didn't know where they were going or where they'd stop. They just heard of stories that there was something out west. And I wonder what made them stop and say, okay, I've had enough, this is where we're stopping.
This is where we're stopping. I think it was their backs.
Yeah, their backs. Or it was beauty like we're seeing in front of us.
You're exactly right, you know.
You know, this is incredible. Seeing formations like this out here, you just don't see this stuff many other places.
That's exactly right. You know, it's something you don't see every day, that's for sure.
So what kind of a friend are you? I mean, when your friends are having trouble in life, are you encouraging or are you discouraging? Are you merciful? Do you know what mercy means? Well, mercy means kind and compassionate. Now, Job's friends certainly were not very merciful. In fact, they were pretty cruel. One of his friends by the name of Zophar was saying that God was punishing him less than he deserved. Imagine that. Well, you know, God wasn't punishing Job at all. Now, instead, God was allowing some things to happen in Job's life that would eventually make him a much better person. Zophar was not being merciful. He was not being a true friend. The Bible tells us in the book of Matthew in chapter 5, verse 7, that God will bless those people who show mercy to others. So are you being merciful? Every follower of Jesus Christ should show mercy to other people in their life. Well, we have stopped down just for a second and hopped off the horses and the mules, and this is Hunter. He's the son of McLean, who's leading the trail ride today. How's it going, Hunter?
Good.
This is really neat. Now, when did you first start riding horses or mules?
When I was probably 3 or 4.
3 or 4 years old. How old are you now?
I'm 10.
10 years old. You've got a lot of experience out of more than most people my age riding around these trails in this kind of area.
Yeah.
Well, what's it been like for you? Do you really enjoy it?
Yeah, I love it.
Well, what about other kids your age around the country that have never seen this, have never been here? What would you tell them to say, you got to come and see this?
I try to encourage them to come with me. Like my friends, I try to do that a lot. And
do you have a lot of friends that live in this area that still haven't been out riding before?
Yeah, I do.
You've got a pretty unique opportunity here. This is a real neat environment you're getting raised in.
Yeah.
Well, one day you're going to lead some of these trail rides probably.
Yeah, I hope.
Yeah? Well, what would you hope to convey or tell people? What do you want to teach them about this whole experience?
I'd like to teach them about lion hunting and riding horses and like that.
Well, that's a neat experience. I've certainly never done that, and you've done it already.
Yeah.
I won't tell you how old I am, but you've got a big start on me. I appreciate you talking to me for a minute. This is real neat stuff behind it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Wow, beautiful country. Hunter, let's saddle back up a minute.
Okay, let's go.
Wow, McLean, this is incredible. I mean, look at this surrounding area. It's got to change a lot over the years, too.
Oh, it does. You know, after living here as long as you have, you know, every year you can see a little erosion, a little change. You get areas like this that get a little water on and cave off. And
got to make you kind of curious, being local as you are, to see what it's going to look like over the years.
Exactly.
You know?
Yep.
Well,
Sure
I
does.
tell you, any direction you look out here, you just can't help but be amazed by what God has given us. It's just so beautiful.
That's right. Yeah. Everywhere you look, it's beautiful.
Well, I would encourage anyone at this point, look up Meekum Outfitters here in southern Utah. You just will not go wrong. What a great way to experience this part of the country. Let's see what else we can find.
Let's do it. Let's saddle up and go.
In chapter 19 of Job's story, we learn that Job says he's been reduced to skin and bones, and everyone has turned against him. How sad he must have felt and how miserable he must have been. He had lost everything. His body was covered with blisters, and despite his pain and sorrow, he said in verse 25 that he still knew his Redeemer lived. Job had incredible faith. When you suffer, do you still praise and honor God? Do you still trust our Redeemer, Jesus Christ, when friends let you down? Job had so much trust and love for God that he refused to allow his circumstances to destroy his faith. Job demonstrated how people should act when bad things happen to them.
Hey, Hunter, do you have any brothers or sisters?
Yeah, I got one big sister.
Does she ride horses at all?
Yeah, she does.
Let's ask you a question here. Who do you think's the better rider of the two, you or her?
Me.
That sounds about right. No, come on. She's probably pretty good, though, right?
Yeah.
Does she ever do any kind of Western kind of riding, or what does she do?
She does barrel racing, pole bending, and goat tying.
Now, is that I guess in this part of the country, those activities are pretty popular, right?
Yeah.
Do you have any activities at school that are part of your schoolwork or outside of schoolwork that involve riding?
Not really.
Nope. Pretty much stick to the academics in the classroom, huh?
Yeah, we got a rodeo up on top of Ruby's Inn. We go up to it once in a while and ride.
What's your favorite thing about riding horses? Is it where you ride, or is it some of the activities like the barrel racing type of thing? What's your interest?
I kind of want a rope when I grow up.
Be a roper, huh? Have you practiced at all?
Yeah, I practice a little.
Pretty good?
Yeah.
All right then. You're probably going to do real well then. So Hunter, you ever been thrown off of a horse?
Yeah, a few times.
Well, it obviously cannot feel good.
No.
What's the reason? You just aren't hanging on right, or what?
Well, my mule jumped a log and I just did the wrong thing, I guess. He went one way and I went the other.
Now, another of Job's friends was Bildad. He was a very smart man, and he did say some things about God that were true, but he was not a very good friend to Job. See, Bildad was always trying to prove his own knowledge and puff himself up. He was not helping Job. He always preached to him and judged him. A true friend looks for ways to help someone who is hurting. Matt, how cool is this? This is beautiful country out here, and you get to see it on horseback. You're only how old?
10.
10 years old. Do you have any friends that have never even been on a horse before?
Yeah, we have quite a few in town that are my friends. I tell them that they need to get into it and get their own horses and ride them.
Well, that sounds like a neat idea, and I bet a lot of kids around the country and around the world would love to do just that. Now, what are some of the things you've seen over the years that you've been riding out here with your dad, or some of the animals you've seen?
Oh, we see quite a few deer and jackrabbits, and we see lots of stuff.
Not to mention all these beautiful rock formations that you can't find really anywhere else in the country that I know of.
Yeah, there's quite a few. When you go up to Bryce, you find quite a few too.
Well, not far from that area, and that's part of this whole beautiful landscape. I say we hop back on these animals and get going.
Okay, let's do it.
After Job's so-called friends stopped condemning Job, a younger man named Elihu showed up. He told the men they were all being fools. Elihu acted like a friend to Job by not judging him. God gave Elihu words of wisdom to share with Job in his suffering. He reminded Job of God's greatness and fairness and God's power and his might. In the end, Job grew closer to God through his sufferings, discovering that people need God even more than good health, friends, or material things.
So Matt, what about you? What do you want to do when you get older?
Probably the same as Hunter. Become a bull rider or bronc or be
A
fishing
bull
game
rider?
comp.
That sounds dangerous, riding bulls. Don't you think this is a little smoother riding horses and mules?
It doesn't really matter.
You just want to ride something.
Yeah.
Now we've stopped down just for a second. The terrain is changing a good bit, and before it was wide open, but McLean, now we're into a different canyon area. Tell me where we are now.
This is Sheep Creek, and this is a slot canyon, and this is where it really gets exciting.
And in the state of Utah, you'll find a lot of canyons and a lot of slot canyons, especially. What that means, if I'm not mistaken, is that the walls of the canyon, they become very high and narrow. So you can ride or hike through those on horseback or hiking on foot. And it's quite beautiful. It's really something to see any time of the year. And now there's some snow and ice back here right now. Is that okay conditions for us to check
Well,
out?
we're going to check it out and make sure it's safe enough to get through this section here. And
Safety's always first. That's the
That's
important thing. Well, let's have some fun.
let's do it.
You know, in the book of Job, we read about God's power and his glory in chapter 37. Well, God created everything we see. He created the earth and the trees, even the sun. Obviously, we cannot look directly into the sun for too long, or else we would go blind. We'd be too sensitive to it. Well, God's power and his glory, it's even more brilliant than the sun. That's pretty awesome, huh? McLean, do you see a lot of changes in the wintertime versus the summer as far as what you're riding through in the terrain out here?
You do, you know, you get in the wintertime and you get more of the freezing and thawing. You tend to see a few more rocks that come down during the wintertime. You know, once the runoff starts, you'll see a little change in the depth in the bottom of the creek too, once it starts cutting a little more.
So what do you find that a lot of the people that join you on these trail rides throughout the year, what do you find they like the most about it?
You know, they really enjoy getting down in these canyons where it's quiet, pretty peaceful down through here, and the scenic beauty of the canyon itself. That, and then to end the day going through some really neat slot canyons is probably the highlight of their whole trip here.
Well, certainly a highlight of mine. You know, McLean, this is such a beautiful area, and I want to talk about something. You know, the water levels in a slot canyon can get pretty high pretty quickly. So tell us about some of the safety issues we're talking about out here.
Yeah, that you always want to keep an eye above you. You know, you get down these canyons, you can't see very far, so you always want to look above before you start in them, check the forecast. But if it looks like it's going to rain, this isn't the place to be.
Yeah, and especially during a rainy season or an unpredictable weather time of year, you should never travel alone through here hiking and just exploring, should you?
That's right, yep.
Well, it is pretty exciting to be in here, and it's really beautiful to see the different colors of rock and the different formations of the land around here. Tell me about how, for instance, how high the water can get in the Slot Canyon area.
You know, in the slot canyons, I've seen it up to 12 to 13 feet, the
Is that
mud
right?
line after a heavy
Now, how
flood.
can so much water come to this area? Where's the source? Where's it coming from?
All of Bryce Canyon, all them canyons, all funnel right into these two canyons right here. So you do get a lot of water coming. It's all blue clay, so if the water don't suck in the ground, it just runs.
So never go hiking or horseback riding by yourself. Always go with someone, know the weather forecast ahead of time, and always go with someone that really knows the area very well.
That's right.
Well,
Yep.
Good points of advice. Let's see what else we can find around here.
Let's do.
Well, you know, Hunter, I'm having a great time. This is really cool out here. It's such a great place to live, and you must really enjoy it.
Yeah, I do a lot.
So tell me something now. I know you mentioned something about lions, and you all have a lot of lions in the area, mountain lions.
Yeah,
Aren't you scared of them at all?
no.
Well, how do you learn not to be afraid of them? Does your dad help you out with that idea?
Yeah, I've seen a lot of them, and they don't scare me much.
Now, what are some of your favorite things to do around here when you're out with your dad and your friends?
Hunting lions, looking for shed horns.
Now, what is that? What's a shed horn?
Well, have you ever seen a buck?
Sure I have. Yeah, a big deer with the big horns on its head. That's a male deer.
Yeah. In about March, and so they start dropping them, and we just go around and looking for them.
So their antlers just come off before they grow new ones later on.
Yeah.
So what's the most you've ever found? How many points on a deer?
Me and my dad was hunting lions up on the Mount Dutton a while back, and we seen one, and he just said he seen the other one.
Is that right? How many points did you have? Do you remember?
My dad found the 7 side, and I found the 6.
That is pretty good. That is excellent. All right. Well, this would be a lot of fun out here. I know if I was your age, I would really enjoy it. Matter of fact, I'm enjoying it at my age.
Yeah.
You going to show me some more things around here?
Yeah, let's go.
Let's head out. So, Matt, does the church you go to, do they have any group activities for families and things?
Yeah, they have a pack trip, and we go down about 3 days and just down, camp out, set up tents, and
Really?
sleep out
Do you
for 3
ride out
days.
to a certain spot?
Yeah, we go down here, down the canyon quite a ways, and it's called the Nipple. It's a big old form that kind of looks like a volcano, and we called it the Nipple because it's just like a volcano. And
Form like a
pretty cool.
big volcano cone, huh? Well, do you have any, let me ask you, do you have any girlfriends that you got your eye on these days?
One.
One? Oh boy, I don't know if we should say her name, should we?
Nope.
Yeah, you go to school with her?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. What do you like about her?
I don't know.
You don't know? Well, you said you like her. We gotta like something about her.
I don't know.
Pretty smile, probably, right? Well, young man, you just keep your eyes on your schoolwork and not the girls. You're too young, okay?
Okay.
All right, let's go talk about this here. This is out of hand. Where are we going, McLean?
Hey, we got something up here I think you're really going to want to see. It's we got some pictographs right up here from the Indians.
Look at that. That is awesome. Now, what do you think that is? What was it indicating, or what did it stand for?
I believe it's probably a map of this area, some of the canyons that go through here.
That would make sense. The canyon floor through the slot areas, how it winds and turns.
Yep.
They probably used it for a sense of direction in this area.
Yep.
That is really awesome. I'm going to go up here and just get a little closer look at it. Wow. Would you find a bunch of these in the area?
You know, there's a lot of them, and the further you go down these canyons, the more you'll see, and some really neat stuff.
Very impressive, and you can tell they probably, I'm guessing, stood up here and used that and probably reached as high as they could to do these etchings so that people could see it from further away. That is very interesting. You learn so much on these trail rides. Let's head back down to where the mules and horses are.
Okay, let's go get on.
Wow, McLean, what a great time we had, huh?
We did.
What an incredible experience. And I know this is really something for families to come out once again together. You've had a lot of families come out and have this experience.
We take a lot of families. You know, a lot of them enjoy it, and they tell me it's an experience that they've never had before. And,
well, it's one they'll never forget.
Never
That's
forget.
For sure.
Yeah.
I know I'll never forget it. What's your website?
It's meekoutfitters.com.
meekoutfitters.com. If you have the chance, come on out and enjoy the experience. I had a great time. Thanks again. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Glad to have you.
We're having a great time in southern Utah. We'll be right back with more after this. You know, southern Utah is such a beautiful location for families to be able to do all sorts of activities together. Now today we've been talking about Job and all the hardships that he endured in his life. Well, it reminds me of a song that we used to sing, or a prayer that we had when we were young that started with the words, God is great. Well, sometimes I tend to think that we forget just how great God really is. Job learned in his life that God is greater than our human minds could ever imagine. It's so important to remember to be merciful, to show kindness and compassion to others, especially to our friends in a time of need. It's never good to assume that you know exactly what God is up to. In fact, the Bible tells us that God was very angry with Job's friends when they thought they knew what they were talking about, when they said that Job was being punished by God for his sins. Well, God wasn't punishing Job at all. God is the only true judge. It's so important to remember that. What a great place to explore, especially if you're young. You know, we haven't talked about this yet, but if you read the entire book of Job, you'll find out that although Job was a good man, sometimes he had a tendency to talk a little too much. And when you do that, you run the risk of saying something wrong, of course. Well, God spoke to Job in a whirlwind, and Job realized that he needed to be quiet and still to learn great lessons in life. Wow, this has been an amazing day. You know, every day to us is a gift from God, no doubt about it. Even the days in our lives that are difficult, they're also gifts from God. Now, I heard someone say that when you face hard times in life, you can choose to get bitter or get better. Well, one thing's for sure, Job had every reason to become bitter. He lost so many people that were precious to him, and he was afflicted with sores all over his body. I mean, things were terrible. But God showed Job that he needed to be better, not bitter. You know, if there's someone in your life that's going through some hard times, remember to pray for them. Ask God to send into their life someone who will encourage them and not discourage them. Someone who will remind them that the Lord restores and renews us when we trust in Him. Well, I hope you've learned a lot on today's show. We've had a great time in southern Utah. And remember what Job learned. God is greater than our human minds will ever understand. We'll see you next time. I want you to meet a friend of mine. He's a friend. He's a good guy. You know, the state of ooh, hi. That's the chicken barbecue there. Well, are you merciful? Do you know what mercy means? Well, mercy means kind and compassion. Here it is. Mercy shakes.